Hi everyone. Today I am going to be sharing with you the uh, very sort of an. I'm going to be explaining a few things with regards to the consciousness, with regards to the floor plan of the trapezoid that you already know, but I will go deeper into that so that you understand why. I will then bring in something else called the philosophy thereafter. And what the information in this work will pertain or be for you is whatever you are deciding to take for yourself. So, yes, it is about choice. And by the way, the time that I took before I started this was really just to um, wait for the fleas to die off. So, think you'll get that for those who are aware of it because it's been quite um, interesting in how they reveal themselves, and many of them are actually on channels that are about originality and authenticity. So they are around. They're also around you if you do something that is for yourself. I think you may have realized that or noticed that. So the particular material that I'm going to be starting with, well, what I'm calling it is the darkening. And the darkening is not about color or about a movement or anything like that. It is a process in which we will clarify material and information, and we'll dig a little deeper, and a lot of the information will come up for you to understand more. Some things may perhaps uh, toggle your mind so that you will think a little bit more on it, and so on. So the energy of the darkening is an exact frequency and is not drawing towards a point of clarifying where it will allow for the rendering of impurities to come to the surface for a purpose. And you could look at it as also a process in alchemy. So right now you're standing in or at a threshold of a very extraordinary voyage, and one that will take you deep into your heart of your own being and further beyond for yourself, into this mysterious realms and realities and dimensions that is all around you and doesn't just is not just there. It's not the other side. It's around you. So this coming information will guide you to tap into your own compass and lantern. You'll be your own form of energy for you, who you are, illuminating the path through the landscapes of your spirit and understanding and exploring the constellations within your mind and your psyche and the spirit realm, and ultimately help you to discern what is not for you and what is for you, and what to work with and what you have to do. So it's a journey, it's about a journey, but this journey is not for the faint of heart, of course. So I do acknowledge and recognize that there are a few brave souls that have been on this journey, and we've been doing the same work for a long time within ourselves, and that many of us have been challenged um, by them trying to break over into your boundaries and so on. So the challenges that have come up have all been based on their perceptions and what they've always thought of with regards to how they can override your frequency. I always use the example of two clouds, and I'll bring it up later again, where one cloud is made out of a plus and the other cloud is negative or minus, and you are one of those clouds. How hard do you have to exist for yourself to exist as one specific thing? Because they quickly or easily wish to override that frequency inside of you the moment you start to thrive. And this is why many of these self help channels and gurus and mystical dudes all give you the promise of something, but they never deliver. No one ever delivers. And this is why they form cults, because it's not really about it's not really about the goal. It's about the going forward to try and siphon as many people as they can with energy. So you may even consider gurus and whatever else they call themselves, masters and bullshit like that, that they are the ones that have achieved the unattainable, when they have simply not done that. They have simply only derived frequencies for you to, or supplemental information for you that is only supplemental and never fulfills what you wish to seek. And this is why I'm saying this channel is very unique. It is uh, information that comes from within. It doesn't get sucked out from any dimension or from any group of people. And later I will explain to you who I am actually, so that you understand why the information is the way that it is. I would like to start by saying that the darkening begins now. For the repurpose of all malevolent frequencies, these types that are parasitic and who have held onto the material realm at the cost of your energy, and the constructed torus fields to draw up the information and the energy. At the moment you think of something, it suddenly gets sucked away from you. You know, that sort of thing. I think many of you have experienced that. It will be like a massive dying off process for them. I know that they're afraid because they picked up on when I started to put this work together. And basically, you could think of all of those things that have been hindering you, but you have to do some work on your end. You always have to do some work on your end um, to help the process along. So this is going to be for only some people, which I know it will be, including those who will be wanting to sit and listen and see how they can break away from this particular process. The moment the information is presented as it is in motion as we speak. So this is about drawing the negative energy, or the negative cloud that's been hanging there, that's been sucking all your plus cloud into it by copying you, so it can become a plus cloud. So I'm talking about it in polarities, okay? There are too many of these frequencies, these entities, these people, these elements that let themselves be driven by the energy that is already available. So when you start to tap into your, let's call it your north node, or when you start to focus on something creative for yourself, um, very few people actually achieve that ability of bringing it out to where they need to where they wish for it to go. um, because it becomes quite hard. The further you climb, the higher you climb. And that also is a belief system, because it's designed by these people, these things, these entities, these whatever. And I'm not calling it even aliens, because we are going beyond that. We're going to the actual metaphysical perspective of what it is, that are essentially um, deriving certain things for you to fall into. It's not done with the agreement of the original creative forces. It's not given permission. It is essentially indifferent to what they do, but that's why they think that they've been getting away with it, which they've not been. Uh, Things have been changing quite radically, and I did say that this year is going to be extraordinarily different than any other year that you've ever lived in, and so will the next. 2025 will be just as extraordinary because that'll be the implementation of what has been done in this year, either or. So uh, basically, think of that um, and what you've personally endured, and seeing how it all becomes conformed into a process where the energetic transference of it becomes ascertained to give you a type of jump start. So basically, taking their energy and transmuting it into the energy that you're supposed to have. So yeah, that's basically it. That's what the darkening is going to be or is about as we speak. And so while the excess energy is being transmuted into what it needed or is needed for those who need to know how to work with it, that would be you who do not wish to harm yourself or me, which means you are here to learn to help yourself, as opposed to the others who wish to study me or you to see how they can take you down. Their energy is now going to be transmuted into energy for you to use. And to some, it'll be shocking, while for others, it'll be pretty much timely. And the darkening is not an evil process, but a clearing. Think of it as a clearing. I'm simply sharing this to those who need to know and who wish to know. And so, deeper on what the alchemy relates to the darkening is therefore to be seen as an energetic process of cleansing on the energetic field. And I don't really like to even use that word because it's got nothing to do with the labels that have been given to that word. You cleanse your space, you clear your space. Okay, you think in that way, in that term. The parasitic nature will be going through the stages of the multidimensional realm dynamics with multiple different stages of awareness, which means this will hit them at any and every level. And while they're sitting and listening to what I'm saying, it will hit them. Okay. So your perceptions to the nature of this realm will change because you will be changing. Okay. And so it will be rendered into the potential form of what you may understand as anti-creation, because that is what they are, to give it a potential purpose. You'll see as I go along. So the darkening is also not about killing the ego. It is definitely not revenge. It is definitely part of the clearing process because um, of the requirement for energy to bring the, uh, let's call it the collective consciousness or the overall consciousness within the realm to step it up, to bump it up. Okay. That's basically what the process is. This is why that which has siphoned all of that energy away from people and have been doing what they've been doing is now being siphoned from them. Okay, and taking away the energy from them so that you are able to jumpstart yourself. Or if you've jumpstarted yourself already, you will get extra energy to go towards what you need to do. Okay, and it's got certain principles that will have to be maintained, like I said. The darkening will touch everyone in a particular manner. It must not be feared. It must be experienced as a form of clearing out of old shadows and letting it build into what you intentionally wish to achieve. Now that the playing field has been leveled out, like I've said before, much more power has been allowed to be used to choose in a different manner in order to ultimately have your own frequency be cleared up for you. This is a process of self love within you. It is a personal process for you. It is not a process that I'm going to be making you do at all. I'm not doing that. That is not my channel. That is not what I do. I share with you the information and you decide how you handle it, what you do with it. Okay. But you cannot use my information against me like some have tried to do for quite some time. So this is where self-love comes in. Okay. And the same goes for you. If you are someone who really uh, seriously seeks to help yourself in this process, you've already done that just by going through the information that you are already aware of about self love. So, I do not give you a lecture on how to love yourself. That is something that you have to do, but I can tell you and share with you how to perhaps focus on your thoughts, how to think in that way. And so the darkening is also an alchemical process in which the parasite frequency is being changed. I'm not saying that it's going to turn out or let your imaginations run and tell you that this is what you wish to see, unicorns and flying pigs, and the murderer has become a placid, calm individual. That's not what's going to happen. What's going to happen is that the frequency from within what they operate in with is changing. And that is something that they cannot stop, because everything that operates in a creative form operates in a particular frequency. And so their frequency, which operated as, let's call it, there was nothing in there to begin with, they will now get a frequency. Okay, and that frequency is tangible. So think of the emperor with new clothes. Okay, think of it like that, because this is what's been going on. That's part of it. And the parasitic nature is everywhere and multidimensional in all realm dynamics. The parasitic nature is in multiple different stages of its own awareness, like I've said. Your perceptions to the nature of this realm, like I said, will change. So, usually in alchemy, and I have to bring up this process just so that for those who need to know, alchemy, this is the initial principle envisioned in 4 steps, namely, number one, melanosis, which means the destroying of the base metal and blackening it. Okay. And number two, leucosis, which is the whitening the metal with arsenic compounds. So when you burn a piece of wood, it goes black and then it becomes white. It is the ash. Okay. It is a process. Xanthosis, which is the yellowing or silver into gold, and then coagulation, which is symbolized by a more global spectrum of images, but laced with traditional alchemical symbols. That's just an excerpt of an alchemical process. Um, yeah, so that's basic the process. So after coagulation, there's citrinitas, rubido reddening, and the purpling of iosis. Just think of a piece of wood that when you light it, you use fire, and once it's lit, it burns. That means it's red. Once it's starting to burn to a high temperature, it goes very red, and then it starts to go black when it starts to die out, and then it goes white, and then you use that ash for whatever you do for your purposes. Okay, that's basically what's going to happen now, what's happening right now, actually. So the parasitic element will therefore undergo a great darkening process. I should say everyone will go through a great darkening process, but the parasites will be hit the hardest, where their baser bonds and beliefs will become destroyed. It will be darkened for them. They're already afraid, like I said. They've picked up within this week that something started to change. So yeah, this is not a local focus. This is the entire realm. Okay. So what will follow is up to them in this process. The frequency within the process will be rendered into the whitening and then yellowing and then coagulation, just as I've read to you. And I think that is what I hope that's the picture. Okay, that's what I'm trying to tell you. That's what we're looking at. Okay, this is a metaphysical process to render energy that was already presented to happen long before. This is part of the process. Okay? The darkening touches you personally by also allowing for you to render all that you have dealt with that was destructive to you in your personal life. All of the things, the shadows that you've already cleared up that keep being repeated for you is now being removed, is now being rendered into something that you can use. So while you're listening to this, while you have time, um, it would be advisable for you to basically look at all of the things that you've already done. You've already done all the healing, you've already done all the shadow work, you've done everything else that you could possibly do to prevent a certain thing from happening, and yet the thing keeps doing the same thing to you. Yet the same thing happens to you. So think of the darkening, which comes from via the luminiferous ether within this realm, and having it go through a process of clearing it out for you. All of these things are surplus energy in the end. So these parasitic parasites who believed to be in the garden from the beginning, well, that's where it presented itself to be. The parasite was inside of the garden as well and was operating with a particular frequency as the anti-creation frequency will become absorbed and rendered, reduced and into transformed form of energy of what you may understand was once anti-creation and becoming potential energy released for choices that have been made over a long period of time. Okay, there's no reason for you to suffer. Okay, I've said it before, there's no reason for you to struggle. You do not have to believe in the program of struggle. There is no reason for you to believe that if you struggle that you will be anything better. It doesn't work that way, because when you believe in the frequency or the belief system of struggle, then the struggle itself is the program to keep you in struggle. You will never achieve more. Okay, so it does not define you. Being who you are and being true to your nature, to what you are, to um, wishing to experience and explore for a purpose of self development is who you are. Not what you do, it's not what you look like that defines you. You are not the sum of your physical appearance, you are not the sum of your actions. You are the sum of who you are meant to be within yourself, your true nature. In other words, let me just say this in a simpler way. What happens when you conform to the essence of anti-creation energy and compress it back into itself, imploding it upon itself? It has the potential to change the essence in the realm dynamics where you are and where it is the most concentrated, and it'll become available to all to work towards as frequency, towards achieving this type of metaphysical energy. Let's call it free metaphysical energy. There we go. That's the buzzword. So the essence will dissipate completely to begin. Yeah, it begins as I speak. The darkening is not about shadows or egos, like I've said. It's not about revenge. It's just a clearing process. Let's think of it as a major detox that is required, much like being absorbed by lead. In order for a change to occur, worshippers of the material realm make you a materialist, and matter becomes ashes, and ashes become dust, and dust can then be repurposed. However, it's not really that simple either, because this doesn't mean it's going to prevent everyone who's working from working. That's not to do with that. It's you can work and you can still not be a materialist. Okay, the very base metal from from Saturn, as the celestial was, and it is always used, but in this case lead becomes transformed. So Saturn represents lead. Okay, it's just a metaphysical explanation. Okay, just because I use the word Saturn does not mean I'm a Saturn worshipper. Okay, and you are on the wrong channel if you think that way anyway. And so by darkening it first, you need heat. Okay, and lead is actually made up of a natural substance called galena. So lead also has the potential to become silver, and yet if it's pressured with enough force, can become gold too. The darkening will touch everyone in a unique way. It will also touch the parasite mind in a very unique way too. And what's important for you is to not hold on to things of the past either. So when I say you've done all the clearing work, you've already achieved all the lessons, and you still are still going through the repeat process of it, then you're fine. But if you've gone through something and you chose not to learn from it, or you've not learned from it, then it might affect you in a particular way. However, the way that it'll affect you is that the information of that particular experience will become something that you would need to clear within yourself. So you may need to have to forgive or move on from it and let it go. Okay, you have to. Because if you hold on to it, you could also get sucked in by it. Okay, so clearing out the old energy and letting it build into what the intentional wishes are to achieve, which is after the great clearing has taken place, and we will talk about that at another stage, because it starts now. We will have to allow it to take its for the process to happen. The frequency of the energy itself will become available to you. And I keep saying to you, don't fear the process. So don't run off and think that this is something that's evil that's going to happen. Because again, if you believe that, when I say what I say, when I say the word darkening, then either you are a parasite or you are just not meant to be here. Okay. So the crux on the whole thing. The darkening will also reveal the psychic background through which everything that was once unknown and empty will be revealed, as that is what illusions are all about, which may have had to be believed in through their own hateful psychophancy projections. Okay. It is as if the realm's own psyche, once projected as a mirror, will become revealed to everyone and to them because of the much false mirrored projections that was skewed and distorted into vitriolic darkness through dark magical practices. In order for clarifying and healing to happen, what was seen in the matter or thought could have be could have been seen to be believed in, and was always the data gatherer of the observer's own unconsciousness, which was always projecting into it. The lens through which these mirroring and projections have happened was always done through the trapezoid. After all, you know now what its purpose is and was made for. In other words, the malevolent wizards and warlocks, witches and diviners, or sycophants, which is what I'm just calling them now, the Ministry of Magic's own encounter within the material realm was always a belief that they apparently belonged to it, meaning from their own psychic nature, and will come to the realization that truly he or she was entirely unconscious to have been to begin with in the first place, and that is the darkening for them. How does the darkening affect the consciousness? Expect elevated awareness as to who and what you are truly are. Experience now the abilities to see through the illusions. It is unavoidable for everyone. It has an absolute impression coming into light, literally. It is the time now for it. Now, in order for the flea circus to be finally to die off finally, because there's lots of them though, so it'll take some time. Uh, a lot of things will become revealed, as you already know. and reformed for a purpose that will still come. Nothing is ever lost. Remember, the system is initially a closed system, so everything that happens inside of the system becomes repurposed in some way, shape, or form. So it really is about a frequency. All things can be repurposed in this realm. The disentangling from the many tricksters and manipulators were allowed to lurk in the shadows to mess within the constructed realm. And obviously, don't forget, like I said, the playing field is leveled out, evened out. Their grandiosity of their nature, especially for the flea circus and its ministry of magic, has now been fully burnt down. We are, in fact, looking at the dying embers or the dying cinders as they slowly char towards dark ashes now, especially for those who seek magically through practices to venerate themselves using the spirit of the deceased. That is not supposed to happen because once you pass away, you are outside of the system. Therefore, you cannot be pulled back into it. And to pull someone out away from themselves, away from where they were, into the system when they're dead is, I want to say, illegal, actually, but then it is it is not moralistic. It is evil to do that. For those who have endured the ongoing process for a long time, and I'm talking about those that have passed away and those that have gone through a lot of pain, you have been brave and that you have survived it in the physical, and patiently have been waiting for all of these things to happen and so that they could get their karma, and yet it was not happening. It has been happening. Karma is back. Like I said, they use all forms of magic and technology to deter you from this awareness. It does happen. It's always been there. Them forcing you to pray to the process for it to make them appear as if they're always okay. It's not real. It is an illusion. It is put up for you to think that karma does not exist. Okay, remember, mind games. Yeah, all archetypes of the same illusions are now being played out. All the cards are open, all the cards are being seen now. Everyone is seen. The ancient understanding of spirituality is not based on magic, uh, nor is it about Kabbalah, nor is it a religion, and nor does it consist out of a caste system. Those were all fixed forms of control for a caste system to begin with. Okay? Only place other in between you and your pathways to deter you. They use all forms of magic and technology to enforce the illusion of eternal presence, which is the exact delusion. The material realm is undergoing a major detox, like I said, a clearing, and it will become dark for them. The darkening requires the four elements to perpetuate fire, for the burning of lead to occur, and your heart is the fire inside of you. So, inside of you, you have to come to this point where you are able to see all of the things that have happened, and it is suggested that you put it all together inside of uh, in your mind, put it into fire and watch it burn all the way to darkness, and then see it go to white, and then use that ash to bring healing. Okay, simple exercise to do visualization work. All right, so this is why I say it requires the four elements. Through the darkening process, your vision, your sight, and wisdom will become restored again. Experience renewed awareness, but you have to allow for the oppressive spell to become undone. In other words, you have to let go of the belief that you are oppressed, because that is the first part of the illusion. You are not oppressed. If you are oppressed, then you are believing that you need something else to get you out of the oppressed state of belief, which means that is how it works. That is what they want you to do. So you will call for another to save you. That is part of the belief system. That entire thing is part of the belief system. In other words, it's time for truth to become clear and clarified for you, your own truth, your own clarity, the brutal truth of who you are and what you have endured. But it requires the fire from the heart, the burning heart. It requires the clearing up of things to begin with. Seeing the darkening as a process to aid you would be advisable. It can also be seen as similar to what the oyster produces when it was injured by an irritant or parasite, to in turn encapsulate the parasite and break it down for a pearl to be born. It is not a grain of sand, contrary to how it's been made to believe. A pearl is not a grain of sand. A pearl is an irritant or a parasite that is being encapsulated. And I have the link for you to look at if you really don't believe me. This is what's happening now. The darkening must be understood as an alchemical process only of dying off of and clarifying that which is an impurity. That means we're talking about the parasites, okay? Not people. Parasites are not people. They look like people, but they are not people. I'm telling you right now, off the bat here. So when these things feel a little chaotic to you, then you must understand that this is part of the whole process. These things are destructive by nature, and I'm referring to the parasites that often project energy into this realm. Okay, they use the trapezoid. So when during the process of the dying off of the old fire, old beliefs, old wounds symbolically presents ashes, indicating a time when the mental state of thoughts and thinking relates to grapple with the problems of matter as the denser controlling factor over your life. Okay, that means I'm referring to the ones that worship the trapezoid and worship the torus and worship the tauroctony that goes along with the torus. And I will explain the word tauroctony for you later. And so the darkening or the dark does not mean evil either, as I've said, is closing. So is basically suggesting that if you close your eyes, is that an evil act? Okay, so when going into a room without a light, is that evil? Switching the light on inside a dark room, is the light evil also? So you hate certain light bulbs, then go buy other light bulbs. Okay, the darkening happens on a metaphysical level for those who are fixed in the material gaze, the material state of beliefs, in which it's a necessity to dominate and hurt people of all natures, of all manners. That what comes from that is for these people, their psyches are being revealed to them, which they have worked so hard to not have. Okay, and I know I can just see that there will be some that will react to this and think that when I say they don't have psyche, that they'll try and create another little magical spell, to throw at me, when I'm saying, yeah, I actually don't have a psyche, because if you did, you'd have connection with your soul and your spirit, and you don't. So you are urged to find something that really encourages at this moment, and to work on yourself to find something small to help you to spark into your life, something that is something that you believe in, that is positive for you. And when I say positive, I'm saying it is polarized to support you in your direction and what you require to have to happen for you. So I'm looking at the consciousness in terms of self-love. And doing the whole survival game thing is also not part of it. Okay, unless you go out in nature and you go there to camp out to enjoy yourself. Okay, if you live in the soul survival mode mind game, you only pander again to the fight or flight mode of the program. That is the illusion. Okay, so essentially, this is active evil. There is active evil projection and construction using the energy of those who have been deceased, including those who are alive, including those who I call the originals, which are many of you who have been working on yourself and who've been here for a long time. Okay, do not forget who you are. Remember that you what you are doing, and remember that very well. Okay. So on the importance to love the self, in order for you to recognize your own light, how to get through these messy days, of course, is to limit your involvement with these types of days. Don't engage or try to resolve matter, change or of scenery, just walk outside or do some exercise or do something completely trivial when you are experiencing their chaos around you. Negativity or malevolent thoughts or or destructive things that are being dissolved as we speak. So if they are all off the wall, then that is part of it. Okay. Um, Practice indifference, meaning practice to become not emotionally involved in the actual process of them dying off. Their energy is what I'm saying. Okay. So again, don't run off. Don't run off with the information that I'm giving to you. I urge you to please listen through this. The darkening brings a collapse to the torus blueprint by collapsing the trapezoids. Very important. This is what it initially then now does. The stage of darkening is monumental as it strips out the foundations of the formation of the trapezoid and the covens involved in it and all the other little minions that follow with it. These covens are not only the usual ones, but every other little fragmented one that hides in the background. So you will start to see these things come up. The trapezoid's foundation is quartered. Understand this very clearly. It needs four quarters, as based on four major pillars, based on what they represent in terms of using psychology within the undertone of and within the trapezoid, anchored or also called the tetrameria, originating from Carl Jung's alchemical tetrameria, is supposed to represent the evolving self and suggests movement, succession, and change, and yet stillness, consistency, and renewal. Here is a diagram of that tetrameria, and diagram is relates to psychology using alchemy to help the relationships between two people and the relationships between the four squares and the relationships between the four parts of the four squares. And is this not just another Pythagorean formula? Let me just say that this all relates to ultimately magic that is called geomancy. Okay, and from this site I'll explain to you what is geomancy? The art of placing or arranging buildings or other sites auspiciously, divination from the configuration of a handful of earth uh, or random dots. Next quote: Geomancy, the magic of the earth, the power to create mountains and cause earthquakes or rain stones on your enemies. End quote. Or, quote, the ability to gain insight into a question or situation using earth. Sub power of earth magic. Lower, lesser magic. Okay? Techniques of earth manipulation, variations of elemental divination. So, for those who think that it's only always weather manipulation in terms of technology, I would advise you to think again. Okay. Uh, Jung's tetrameria is the equivalent to the quaternity of elements. It used the four elements earth, water, fire, and air, and the four qualities to these would be hot, cold, dry, and moist. And the basic foundation for the trapezoid inside of the torus is to cauterize, to cut into corners, to cut corners. Keep that in mind, meaning to cut or divide into four equal or nearly equal parts. Quarter an apple, to quarter means to condemn, to be hanged, drawn, and quartered, or if you are a mason, squaring the compass. So keep that in mind where we're going with this information. So, what is the tetrameria? There is a link here as well. I'll go into it a little deeper. Based on the alchemy principles of the usefulness of the tetrameria, it's so deeply involved in the basic existence of mankind that the number four is also called tetractys. The Gnostics believed man to be called a tetrad, probably referring to the four extremities. Okay, or perhaps a tetrad is useful for the ritual in the trapezoid. Okay, I've added that part in. End quote. Next link, I will provide it at the bottom. I'm guessing that the periodic table could also probably be some sort of quartered magical formula. I'm just thinking about it now. That's my side note. Since the trapezoid was built for the purpose to cauterize the frequency, the original frequency, in other words, whatever was original within you was cauterized into quartz so that you would not ever be able to have a full access as a full whole system within yourself. Those who have taken part in the rituals of the trapezoid will most likely toxify their own rituals because of the darkening that is happening. Since all processes never led to the desired goal, and since the individual's parts of it were never carried out in an standardized manner, the change in the classification of its stages cannot be due to extraneous reasons, but other to the symbolic significance of the quaternity or fraternity of the quaternity and the trinity. In other words, it is due to inner psychological reasons that they will toxify their own explanations and experiences within themselves, considering them imploding. Here's an image of the tetractys. So inside of the tetractys is a hexagram and a pentagram. Both of these symbolize stars or pentagrams and also the animal and human form, respectively. Uh, as Crowley said, every man and every woman is a star, end quote, because every human birthed into this realm also, if unaware, enters through the trapezoid, useful for five sensory programmable matter. That is what it actually means. Proskinesis is a requirement used within the trapezoid, within the space of the trapezoid, which means to bow down and close one eye for the worship of the deity from within the trapezoid. Keep that in mind. Proskinesis. And no, this is not about New Age or anything that is to do with ascension. The darkening has got nothing to do with that. I've just on a side note here, which is just another fallacy. Ascension does not happen ever. It only happens with you all the time whenever you learn something new. So you ascend within a higher knowledge all the time. There is no day and age and year for the grand ascension to happen because it just ties in again to the whole rapturing thing, which is a religious fallacy as well. Okay, you do not become raptured. Your physical form stays behind and the worms eat it. Okay, your spirit is eternal and that transitions or ascends, if you want to use that word, into a higher space, a higher frequency, a higher place. So the darkening will change the realm. Just keep that in mind. Then you'll see how much involvement has happened, as there has been. Okay? But it should also be seen as an important note that you will now be able to, when you do decide to leave one day, do so without fear that you may be sucked into some magical spell back here in the realm. That has stopped. That will stop. Okay, fully stop. So the blueprint of the trapezoid is now being taken down. The first foundation was based on archaic philosophy, Platonic in nature which enforced duality, but more on this later. The foundation for the old philosophies were based on the esoteric importance of matter, material realm dynamics, as world, earth, and water, which related to influences over the soul. The soul is identified as water, which means it is moved by things. The first pillar or corner uh, post of the trapezoid was about archaic philosophy, Platonic in nature, which enforced duality, and more on this later as well. And the foundation for the old philosophies were used or based on the esoteric importance of material realm, like I said. These pillars are the actual corners or pedestals in which the most prominent worship of the trapezoid was built into, aligned in the tetractys, which is a three-pillar construct. So sun, moon, and star, and cauterized into four pillars or corners within the trapezoid. The second pillar, this is their magic, okay? I'm just telling you that's how they do it. The second pillar is about astronomy, together with astrology, and the dominance of the sky, which in turn holds the celestial in domination, because it has a complete knowledge of the two elements, air, Mercury or commerce, and fire, old laws from old godlike archetypes. And the third pillar or corner is about alchemy, is knowledge of the experiment and the preparation of the four elements mentioned as above, as before. And then the fourth pillar, which represents virtues and vices, which I'm sure you know what they mean. Okay, so the darkening will also reveal and transmute that process. All the closed eyes will now be opened. The dark agenda is the next part that I would like to share with you. What is it all about? Why was it all about? What was the point? The importance of remembering Mithraism so that you will remember. Mithraism is, as I've discussed before, and I will refresh your memory, Mithraism is about a militarized belief system based on subjection of ideologies, emasculation, and misusing magic. It was designed to incorporate psychokinetic forces gathered during war using the bodies, yeah, I don't know if I can say this. Let me just say using body parts and the components for certain practices to contact the spirit world. Necromancy, don't forget. It's about slaughtering the symbolic Taurus as the bull and to be drenched in its uh, red stuff for whatever veneration purposes. However, the veneration purposes is to draw down into this ritual a celestial to change certain things in the realm. That's what it's for. That's why they do that. And so to contain not only the beliefs of celestial powers, but to also control and command society. Right. So Emperor Nero was one such fellow who was throned in 52 AD at the age of 16, and he was very famous for, he had a reputation for tyranny and cruelty and decadence that basically survived, outlived him for over 2,000 years. That is how much he has done to disrupt frequency, to hurt energy, to hurt people. Okay, Mithraism was but one, and there's a link there for that for those who need to know. And Mithraism was but one of the many cults that sustained the intention for the Taurus to become built in order to sustain the system and its material realm for gains. Think of it as a magical square spread out over the realm, okay? So that they can all use it to do what they need to do, while presenting astrological magic to rule the system overlay. So, in fact, as I've said before, deep stuff, all of them. Maybe you should watch all the deep stuff material, the Beyond Thunderdome, everything. Watch that last. Start from the last video to the first one, and you'll understand the picture now. meaning this one being the first. And there's a reason for that. You'll understand once you've done it. Next point, psychophants. Psychophants. There's the word. I've created that word to describe them. Okay. Psychophants built into this whatever they needed. The pattern watchers and their leagues of extraordinary men and women built into the foundations throughout the ages. The CFR has a place to do that active building work, and so on and so forth. So history should by now tell you that humanity has been pretty much been doing things like this for a long time, with any outside aliens coming in to change anything. No external foreign agencies from the outside, not for a long time, since humans have been making sure that they do it all by themselves, of course. So the same ones who wiped out and eradicated the Atlantean Rift, or yeah, the Atlantean Rift, with its multitude of ports for trades, are the same ones that have been actively working within the trapezoid. This is why they freaked out so much, and they still do. The first thing, yeah, the Torus Field was built as a giant projected memory palace using myth, image, and illusionary spell work to keep it going. The chaos model and its many components. The clue that gives it away, um, to see in who which what it was given as a is Metatron entity that was used as a clock or a component to harness the power. So that is an entity that was also drawn into the magic for that group, for that building. You should know that the science is just another seance every time. So in contacting higher magical realms to incorporate into the system, as that is what they do. And its method of controlling mechanisms, the mixing, that means the mixing up of Serapis Bey and Mithras as well, the military from Rome and its allegiance to Mithras for him to slay the divine bull, who then eventually he becomes to appear like the lentiphaline. I think that's what you call it. I'll give you the image. That thing is just another version of Mithras with components that are added to it, a magical incantation of a type of god. Originally, this entity came from Persia, um, but because the Romans have stolen and basically absorbed everything, they changed their doctrines on that thing and decided to call it out as Ahriman, that meaning they made it evil because the Romans had already taken over that entity. So the Persians have changed their original god Mithras to Ahriman because the Romans had contaminated the image of Mithras with that symbol. So that is how easy things are changed, okay, and how easy gods are changed. And this is why it's so important to be mindful what type of god you're worshipping and in question the beliefs of these things. I'm not saying change your religion, just question your beliefs on things. The command over the self and thoughts need to happen as we speak so that you are able to avoid the thing that's happened to the Persians with their gods, with the Romans. If you are able to connect what is within you, you are not able to be overwritten by anything, or nothing can change you then. If you are inside of you, if you are focused there on how you think and how you do and how you act on things, okay? The worshipping of the external material realm is based on Plato's beliefs, which he was essentially securing over time. Needless to say that it was Platonic ideologies that enforced globalist ideologies. So keep that in mind. Plato was one of the first communistic um, philosophers. Okay, so the way to disconnect the entire system and its tauroctony, or bull slaying, because that's the word for slaying the bull, so to speak, from the self, is to stop slaying the first thought that is inside of you that tells you the truth. The very first thought of your day will determine your day. Tauroctony is metaphysically a constant ritual that allows for the same things to perpetuate. Copy and paste things, just like the Romans do. They love to steal and copy and paste and mix up. I'm talking about them in the past, Romans in the past. So by taking part in Tauroctony, the belief is that there is dominate and to control your understanding of what archetype can mess with you. Number one, if you believe in something outside of you that must be done in order for something else to happen, it means you give foresight to something that exists to control that moment. Okay, that is the problem. That is what it means. So then there are those who work hard in media and the industries to keep the belief in the devil alive, of course. And when I said those and who wish to keep the devil alive, I'm also referring to them as the devil in plural. Okay. So the actual original creative force that has existed always and does not need people to represent itself, or does not need books and materials to explain its existence, because that's all man-made perceptions of what they wish to believe of that, um, is also part of what I've just explained to you, that you believe you have to do something in order for something else to happen. And while you do that, you have just literally given yourself over to whatever there was at that moment that can control that event for you. In other words, you are not in control of your life because you're doing something out of fear. Okay, that is the problem. That is why originally the bull was a half man bull. It was a minotaur. It had the head of a bull and the rest was a body, because then at the time people were still thinking about things. Now people are completely bullish over the entire everything, allowing themselves to be sacrificed for something else. Or what is it? Sacrifice for the greater good ideology, belief system. When I'm trying to say that the actual original creative force doesn't give a shit when you do that, because that's not what it's about. Okay. And when I say that it doesn't give a shit about you sacrificing yourself, then I'm saying that if sacrifice is doing it for a particular purpose, then it means you are worshipping an idol to give you that okay, that it was necessary to sacrifice. So the most important field for psychophants to focus on is called the sublime. Edward Burke has much to say on the sublime. He was born in 1729 and died in 1797. And he was born in Ireland, was trained for the law but never practiced. Funny how that is. And suddenly he became the most leading philosophical author of his time, uh, inquiring into the origins of ideas and the sublime and the beautiful. His links here. And the quote is this from him: the main idea of On the Sublime is that the genuine grandeur in art can take the viewer beyond the common place and arouse emotions such as awe, astonishment, and even fear. And end quote. This means belief in the material realm as being whatever they project for you to believe in can be pretty or out of fear, such as mass media on certain war scenes or political chaos presented to you can be very strongly believed by the viewer. That is what it means. Let me read that quote again for you. On the sublime is that genuine grandeur in art can take the viewer beyond the commonplace and arouse emotions such as awe, astonishment, and even fear. End quote. That's what it means. Okay? In aesthetics, the sublime, from the Latin sublimis, this is my part now, is that the quality of greatness, whether physical, moral, intellectual, metaphysical, aesthetic, spiritual, or artistic, can be uh, created to give you subliminals. In the whole context about the word sublime, I would also urge you to understand that the word sublime means subliminal as well. So keep that in mind. through subliminal programming, the sublime art through art can make you believe whatever it is that they want you to believe. Basically, that's what it means. Okay. So that was why he was so important, because he also investigated well, he picked up that there was a field of energy that was created by this particular subliminal frequencies. And I'll explain a little bit more on this. Um, the power to control the material realm. Okay, and its fields of sublime energy is procured from the original beings such as yourself and myself. um, we give off a frequency around us, and that frequency becomes harnessed and trapped into a particular structure, which is what we call our spirit energy as well. And this is the philosophy of artificial technology and artificial ideals and images that can use that frequency, that energy, to build their shit so that they basically create what it is that they require from your energy. And those are the ones that are actually going to go through the darkening process. So creating new world orders, religions via the sublime field through rituals, etc. So let me explain the sublime field to you. Sublime field. So you have the trapezoid diamond shape. Okay, that shape, and in front of it is an altar, and you're having your little circle and do your seance there, and that energy that comes from this field. Now, there's no actual physical diamond shape put there. There's no window there at all. The field of the magical practice, the ritual itself, creates that diamond. And while you're sitting in front of it and you're doing your rituals and your seances, you are tracking into that field that looks like the diamond, going into it, um, and you are essentially then absorbing from people such as myself and people that such as yourself that are creative and original energy, and that energy then goes to them. How does it happen? You don't give it to them. No, you don't give it to them. It's not a voluntary thing. It's a thieving thing. Okay, it happens. Okay, this is why you need to be very careful how you focus on yourself. So you don't allow a thief to steal from you. It just happens. Okay, vampires, you can call them that as well. Energetic vampires. And this field within that room is called the Sublime Field. Okay, all of that, including the diamond, is the Sublime Field. Now, buildings, for example, where there are a lot of people working there under a lot of stress, creates a Sublime Field as well. Um, uh, Places where there have been war-torn country events and things, there's a strong sublime field there. I would call it residual energy, becomes for them sublime energy. So whatever is left behind of something that is big or is generated through stress and emotional energy and anguish is called a sublime field. Okay, keep that in mind, sublime field. And its fields of sublime energy is procured from the original being, such as ourselves, which means your spirit energy is being tapped into, or they try to suck from you. Okay, so this is the philosophy of artificial technology. This is their philosophy, is to draw that energy from you, and they use that to create and build artificial ideas and images and do whatever they do, like they always do. So this is also behind creating the New World Orders, religions, via the sublime field through the rituals, etc., to dominate worlds, and then uploading chaos into the sublime field so that the focus on seeking harmony becomes an inversion. So if you're looking for something that's harmonious, it becomes inverted for you, okay, because of how much they generated around. So certain towns, certain countries have that sublime energy as well, the sublime field, but it's not a blanket over a country or a place. It's in pockets of areas. Okay, so it's not just one big mass of blob energy. It's not like the mist. Okay, it's not like the mist. So uploading chaos into the sublime field so that the focus on seeking harmony becomes an inversion, uh, which they call the omega point. You're looking for the omega point, but they give you the omega hell type of thing. Okay, so that's basically how it works, how they manipulate the sublime field of energy. And the sublime field is the field of energy that is within a trapezoid and around that room or that area where they do their rituals. Okay? And that area, that energy, is also in places like I've explained where there's a lot of trauma or stress. Like, for example, after the 9/11, that thing with the water is a very good example of a lot of sublime energy that's right there. That is continuously it's continuously creating itself for them to do whatever they want to do with it. It's like a power node, a powerful power node of energy, of misery. So think of it as a vapor over the boiling kettle. That's how you can see it as well. I see it that way. I see it looks like vapor. It becomes stronger and more purposeful when the magician taps into it via the trapezoid. Um, but it has, yeah, it's been a struggle for them though because they've not been able to actually generate more than they would have. So I can pick up that they are extremely hungry and they're close to almost eradicating themselves, which is what is happening as we speak. Um, the purpose of Mithraism and Tauroctony is probably the best example of spiritual emasculation and of the sacred masculine principle, meaning cutting off your actions, energy, work, fire, the ability to create, okay, and defeminizing the sacred feminine principle, which is the ability to experience creation, birthing, and water. Um, these are all masculine and feminine principles within you, okay, irrespective of what you are. To purposefully create an emasculated drone or a uh, thing that can just be a vessel for them to lay their eggs in, type of thing. Okay, that's basically how it works. That's why negative energies, people, malevolences, um, find people that are not strong, or they try to break them down so that they become empty vessels for them to do what they need to do. Okay, it's very convoluted. Not everyone does it, but I've seen the most extreme form of it as well. So the black magician or the sycophant using high magic to control low magic, high magic to control low magic, which is earth magic, geomancy, um, through the frequency of the sublime field, um, can utilize the sublime field for the projection of a uh, source, okay, will which will mean that the image of that source is projected into that field, so that those who come in contact with it um, are experiencing that source because they've implanted that source into the field. Okay, so if you are afraid of certain things or you believe in certain things, you are more susceptible to be programmed by that field. Okay, this is why it's very important for you to be able to be in control of yourself at all times, as much as you are able, possibly to be able to do. Uh, that's basically the whole situation. That's what they do. So ultimately, the intention is to make you start to worship that source, which is basically worshiping them, because they want to be worshipped. They wish to be worshipped because the more you worship them through their fake image of source that they've put into the sublime field for you, the more you become their slaves, the more you become part of their cult that they project into the system, and this is how they manipulate it. Okay, so in turn, the aim is to have children with, yeah, that's basically, I think you can see the rest of the whole thing going forward. That's a form of entrapment if you are basically like that. However, worshipping the self is not about self-love. Does not mean the same thing at all. I just need to make that clear. So those idiots that think that self-love is about worshipping the self, they are off the mark, because worshipping the self requires another external factor to basically make you do that for yourself because of something else. So the something else is that God, okay, that entity, that thing, okay. In other words, self-love is completely free from these frequencies that are outside of you. That's the difference. Um, Self love relates to being completely in control of the mind, body, soul, and spirit, and in a whole system, whole, whole, so that nothing can come into it and nothing can leave from it. You are your own contained field, all of it. Right. So I think that would be very clearly explained there now. Uh, Remember that they always seek to be godlike. So that is why they will seek to be godlike, while you worship the image of them, uh, or that they've placed there for you by way of subliminal programming through media, whatever you want to call it, industries, because you're looking at that as well. Um, Worship the burger type of thing. And I am the company that creates the burger. So I am God in your eyes. That's the example. Okay, that's how it works. Technology is a very powerful thing that they use. They use the psychokinetic power to uh, enhance the ability to control the subliminal field around certain uh, parties, around certain people, around certain events, and that energy is basically so let me just say you're looking at weaponized loosh energy. Can I call it that? I think that would make sense, because I hate the word loosh, but um, everyone seems to know what it means instead of understanding the sublime field. Every generation of technology lines up to a new and more improved psychic access into the sublime field using psychokinetic power, like I've said, your vril power, to control and synthesize energy. Remember, the word synthesize comes from Kabbalah, so just keep that in mind. Um, Sublime field is not ether, just keep that in mind. It is the energy field around things, around companies, people, like I've just explained. It is weaponized loosh energy. So I'm calling loosh energy sublime field, so that you understand that now. I'm not using that word anymore. It's an irritating word. It's got too many negative connotations to it. So now, facing imminent mortality for billionaires, obviously they are very scared now because they know that they are dying. They have to die. They are asking, they are working very hard right now, and perhaps have been for some time, with the psychokinetic abilities or energy of Tesla power. Since Tesla actually discovered the trapezoid, the field within the trapezoid. That's basically where that comes from. So keep that in mind. There's a focus on trying to rejuvenate themselves so they can live forever. And I guess they're trying to use technology to replicate that sort of thing. Anyway, on psychophancy, so that you understand what I'm talking about. Psychophancy is the harnessing of psychic energy and siphoning of energy to dominate material realm through various vices and virtues, and ultimately money, because that's really the thing. Money is energy, and that gives the ability to change reality or buy protection from the reality itself. Okay, this energy is, I think if I can call it, psychokinetic power. It is also called vril or chi, prana, uh, the sublime field, odetic forces, bioplasm, soul, fluids, orgone, etc., etc. You should know that by now. To sort of conclude, the darkening is the transmutation process within the luminiferous ether that is absorbing the psychophant, and their sublime field harvesting, because that is what it's all about. It's much like an oyster that disposes of an irritant or parasite by changing its existence into something else. The type of energetic source code was used to build the world into a realm into which the Torus model was formulated or built. The Torus model was, the fields around the world was utilized to be made into a Torus field around, and the trapezoid had been built into that as well. So the original source code is made up of energy, and energy is used to build into the torus and trapezoid. The original source code does not belong to the trapezoid, but it is part of the system in which the realm exists. That system of energy is called the Sublime Field energy, like I've just explained to you. Self love, on the other hand, of the self generates your own field of power. Self love means that you know yourself. Some might say to love the self is to know the kingdom of heaven inside of you. That is related to whatever works for you. Okay? If that is what you need to believe, then it will work for you. Nothing can be achieved when the mind pressures the heart, and neither can you generate willpower to have with the intentions when you are believing in the hyper emotional highs, when you are in distress. Your mind goes to where the highs are, and if the highs are scattered or out of fear, then your mind will create that, and your mind will arrest the heart's frequency for for that thing to happen. It leaves you hollow in the end. That's very important. That's what you need to understand about your own self-created field, which is your immediate environment, energy around you. The mind is only able to comprehend what data it's fed. So when you love yourself, you will automatically generate love to be met, to come to you. Okay? So when you are calm and indifferent to things, or if I shouldn't say indifferent, I should just say calm and not emotionally involved in things, when it's fearful stuff, this does not mean that you trick your mind. It means that it does, however, tell you that you need to be mindful of how you think and how you experience that moment, that situation, or what you permit into your mind. Self love helps you to think and how to become rational and intelligent and use your wisdom to understand who you are ultimately and is how you respond to things. So do not think about the problem, action to resolve it, even if you action yourself with something mundane. If you're stuck in something, do something else. It'll just bring you back to what you need to do when you need to resolve that issue. The next chapter, the philosophy within the dynamics, the turning point. Therefore, there's a script or narrative written to incorporate life or death experiences that is meant to trigger you, that the turning point in how to handle that event is to allow for it to play out without incorporating your energy by feeding it with expectations of how it should happen, which are imaginary at this point. Always remember that your mind always strives to control the frequency that it experiences, and can also be understood that the mind can also even be the stumbling block for your life path. That means you have to regulate how you think. So when you let go of controlling the narrative outside of you, you will have more control over the entire situation on an energetic level. This is very important reason why I'm proposing that you understand the philosophy, because this that I'm explaining is the philosophy on how to handle this place and yourself ultimately. If you move towards the understanding of the middle path, then you will have the ability to be met by counter events or agents and situations that will accommodate you or distract you. So in this journey, if you are interested to learn how to finally be in control of yourself, we are delving into the many innate details of what it is that you need to understand, but get your mind straight first. So think of it as a part of a sort of a floor plan, or a plan that you are creating for yourself right now to help yourself get through this realm. The internal purpose for this philosophy is to acquire the guidelines that I'm proposing for you to look into, to explore for yourself. That's for those who want to do this, not for those that want to not do this. Don't do it if you don't want to do it. But this is just to share some ideas on how you can approach yourself in this direction in this process. So, first of all, I need to explain to you that the information that I've been presenting does not come from the outside, comes from within. And based on that connection that I have, I'm able to present the information as it comes to me. So I'm sharing it with you, and this is why this channel is so unique. And also, everything that is being said on this channel has the capability to resolve, dissolve, and clarify as it always does when we speak about it on this channel. So, first of all, I'd like to tell you, who am I and why should you care? So, I do not conform to any standards or beliefs, nothing man made, at least, but because mankind tends to lie and misconstrue almost every single thing that there exists, and this is experience that tells me that. And what is actual truth versus what is actual perceptions? That is the biggest issue. I am not your guru. I'm not a guru, and nor am I sharing insights for you to how to become a god. Okay? All of those things are simply just man made constraints of beliefs that blur truth for its originality. I'm not proclaiming to be some kind of leader or messenger or messiah. I'm not a magician, nor am I a witch, or doing anything in the background, nor am I getting information from other people. I operate solo, and the information that is within me is what I'm sharing with you. There is no other forces of entities or energies or things that are influencing my mind, body, soul, and spirit at all. I am in absolute sovereign control of who I am and what I think and what I share with you. And I take time to present to you information that I feel could be relevant to help you on your journey. You have the choice always to decide if you wish to accommodate it or not. You are not ostracized or judged for it. None of it ever is in that way. However, the information that I'm presenting to you is all based on metaphysics, and metaphysics is a way of thinking. It is not based on academia, metaphysics. It is not based on new age pseudo metaphysics either. You'll see it in my about section. That is what I present. The information that comes to me in the form of being in alignment with my higher self, with my heart, with who I am, with self-love. That is basically it. That's all it is. And the information that I'm sharing with you should help you in the same way if you wish to achieve that path. When you love yourself within unconditional reasons and rational, healthy discernment, you are able to start to notice that your life starts to change within you and that which surrounds you. If you are stuck and you keep doing this whole thing, you're doing it because you want something else in return for it. So then it will never work for you. So the aim is to focus on self-love in the terms of who you are for yourself. You cannot be doing self love to get something because it's not going to work. And manipulating it to or conning the frequency of self love, love cannot be conned. Okay, keep that in mind. And if you so what if you do self love? What if you start with self love and you work through yourself experiences, the past and the issues that you've accommodated in your life? Then it's going to take you as long as it took you to get yourself into that state of wounds, it will take you that long to get out of it, but it will speed up the more you are becoming aware of it. Okay. I do not do healing or counseling for anyone anymore. I've not been doing it for some time. Okay. That is my journey. It is private and it is personal. Unlike those who are continuously trying to remote view my life and remote view and investigate what I'm doing almost every day. It makes my life is almost like an existence for them because that's what they keep needing to feed from that energy. You see, and that is what happens when you are unique. So I need to give you a heads up. When you become unique or aware of your uniqueness, you become visible. How do you protect yourself? Well, right now, the darkening is happening. So the darkening is what is reformulating and changing the frequency. So it's going to be difficult for them to do whatever they're doing. Even as they're listening to me, they're trying to figure out what other magical spell they can use now with their sores and their woundedness. Right. You could consider me as someone that would irritate demons and those that do the work for the demons. I challenge everything that exists in this realm because you must challenge everything here. What is a metaphysical explanation on how to operate the self within the realm? The most important factor to wrap your mind around is to build on the understanding of the misconstrued belief of duality. Okay, the realm is projected into a duality system thanks to religions, of course. Duality is based on perceptions of either light or dark, yes or no, red and blue, dualistic tendencies, right and wrong, etc., good, bad. And as I've said, there are materialistically within this realm two frequencies that are continuously dual with one another, which is maintained within the Torus model of this realm. That though the realm is made up of those two duality frequencies, there is also another within the self. That means your mind, body, soul, and spirit. So you are not just one or the other. You are multiple dimensions within, multidimensional. That energy that is within you is electromagnetic energy. It is a frequency. That means that you are electrical and magnetical within your mind, body, soul, and spirit, or magnetic as feminine in its principles of reasoning, or electrical as masculine in reasoning and actioning. You already have the energy to manipulate the frequencies within your own form. Your future is not predetermined. Fate does not exist, nor is anything in your life designed for the fate either. It is not possible to predict a future of any sort, which makes it possible for you to investigate pure potential. Because once you are achieving self love, you are entering the experience of potential. That means whatever you decide on it has the potential to happen for you. The reason for this philosophy is within the material in this entire channel. All of it is there. It is also inside of you. It is inside of you and becomes revealed to you when you can actually look at yourself, not for your physical form, but who you are, how you think, what you've achieved, what you've accomplished, what have you done? Are you grateful for it? Can you do better? Should you do less? Find your balance within you. I also need to bring up the con jobs that wrote the book on The Secret, which was the law of attraction, which is actually fake because the law of attraction is based on their intentions to have gathered, to have attracted your money to them. Okay, so that was massive ritual in itself. So you need to get rid of that out of your head because that does not work. What does exist are those principles that I've discussed many years ago on this channel, which relates to the natural laws of how the realm dynamics work, which are based on a few things. And that is basically all it needs. It's all that it's about, are those seven little things that that can be manipulated or used to destroy you.
The philosophy and audio. Understand the energetic field that you function within, that it belongs to you. You have an energetic field around you. That is what I also call the immediate or the dynamic within and around your reality, in other words. While it can be overlapped by others, that is possible, this entire field is what also black magicians refer to as the sublime. How it must be seen is a field of energy or residual energy. The residual energy operates currently within two streams. That is what is called duality. But once you have adapted the mastering of yourself, you'll be able to break the duality that folds around you, and you'll be able to create many threads on your life path. Thus, I'm saying you're not becoming a skittle. I'm saying that you're becoming multidimensional and much more empowered, and so becoming more impacting over your lifetime. It does not become a plurality either, so you have to remove that thought out of your head as well. It becomes a ratio of energy and how to work with energy itself from within the field that you exist within, that can counter or divide or go along with it. That is obviously always your choice. Many people try to counter it, others try to divide it, and others go just along with it because they don't have anything else to live for. When you enter this field is not to be misunderstood by the multi universal idea either, or in this case, related to quantum. Quantum is only a measurement of field. It is to be understood to be the multidimensional level and processing of how you operate within this realm and beyond. And this requires a whole state. That is WHOLE. When a beach ball drifts in the sea, the ball does not become unraveled. It doesn't fall flat. It doesn't go to pieces or turns into many little bits of pieces, but it drifts when it's secured, when it's a strong material, along all the currents without slipping into underwater or connecting and getting a hole in it, of course. For this, we have to explain the seven natural laws which have been used long time ago and which I will be using in this philosophy to introduce to you how the dynamics work. Never forget them. Always remember self-love in all of your life. So I will name them for you. The list is mentalism, correspondence, vibration, polarity, rhythm, cause and effect, and gender. This must not be confused with male and female or the current agendas and narratives that are playing out as we speak. The first three laws are immutable. That means mentalism, correspondence, and vibration are immutable. That means nothing can change it. It is ever unchanging over time and unable to be altered by any human being. Mutable laws are the latter, which is polarity, rhythm, cause and effect, and gender. And that means you are able to transition or transcend over those and make it work for you, if you have the wisdom to do so. The latter laws are also mutable. This does not mean that you should ignore the mutable laws, but it is different and important to understand them in their entirety. And you will understand when I go along with this. The philosophy. On the first one, we call it Law 1, which is mentalism. And I've done this before, but I'm approaching it in a much more broader perspective, which is much more detailed and relevant to how to overcome the darkening that is taking place as we speak. If you've not heard of the darkening, please refer to the video before this audio. Therefore, the first thought that comes from within, the mental state, is deterministic to you. Therefore, the mind creates the first thought in creation, mythos. This is the first creation. This must be seen in that way in a metaphysical term. This means within your consciousness is a higher mind or a mental state and is the underlying energy of the force behind an idea or an intention. The conscious, awake, aware, balanced mind is the mind of your own spirit. It is the authentic intelligence. This holds true on all planes in the metaphysical, physical, matter, mental, and spiritual realms. The first thought is birthed from a need or desire to know, to experience. Your first thought must be that you love yourself and that you accept yourself wholly. This must be practiced every day. The first thought requires a sound and frequency as self-love. The law of vibration suggests that nothing rests or stands still in static, therefore everything moves. Everything vibrates and has a frequency, and so equally the system is used to throw you into the sway of the realities of the many energy fields by trying to override your own personal frequency or field. But understand that the realm operates within multiple threads of energy fields, which means, as I've said, it comes from the majority of the system who believes in X, Y, or Z. That means the consensus, whether you're aware of it or not, was given to either allow for terror to take place or peace. It is always a choice, and these choices, when more of them believe in it, can act out and influence your energy field. If you want to level up with personal self-empowerment on the personal development requires to either drowning out the shitstorm or to neutralize the frequency either way by becoming completely unmatched to it. That is the important thing to take with you. Remember, everything vibrates. The only difference between all manifestations of consciousness or mind, be it matter, thoughts, emotions, things, or circumstances, is their corresponding rate of vibration. The higher the rate or speed of, or oscillation of frequency or vibration, the less dense, the less physical that thing is or impacts you. The lower the rate or speed or oscillation of frequency vibration, the more dense or less subtle, more physical that thing becomes. That is why there's a difference between as they operate higher magic and lesser magic, which means higher magicians can control lesser magic. That means the world. On the physical plane, everything you experience with your five physical senses is interpreted as frequency, and all of this forms up an energy field. Everything is in the material world a vibration or frequency that you experience and interpret through your soul as the interface, as I've said before. The sixth sense is anchored into the spirit, which observes through the entire embodiment along with the soul all things in all planes multidimensionally, whether it is physical or not physical, visible or invisible. The solidity of what is physical is determined by how your mind and brain interprets its pattern or frequency. On the mental plane, the law of vibration or frequency emits waves and or patterns through your thoughts. Simpler, when you think you emit thought frequencies or waves, and each thought wave has its pattern or signature within your energy field. These frequencies are not physical to your senses yet, as this is pure potential in motion. Much like what is going on right now, where pure potential is being squashed by overriding everyone's energy fields in some way, shape, or form. The overall frequency of your mental nature is determined by what you constantly think, feel, imagine, and believe in, which can then determine the corresponding responses of nature of your projected physical experiences. Since you can consciously choose your thoughts, or you are in control of it, I hope, you can intentionally increase the rate of vibration or frequency of your mental frequency by thinking more objective or positive or in a loving space thinking that can alter and boost your energy frequency to a higher frequency. Balance is always key. The law of vibration or frequency determines what is attracted to you. Energy attracts energy, or like attracts like, is the fundamentals for creation and manifestation or materialization. Learn to know who you are and how you respond to everything you experience, and you will learn to control your mental frequency and vibrations at will. This will allow you to choose consciously what to focus on. It is possible to change your core beliefs and to realign the subconscious mind. This is true thought power, and this is also removing and clearing up old belief systems of your life. The law of vibration or frequency and direction. The direction of power is determined by the level of the frequency or vibration. Higher level of vibration or frequency have more direction and power over lower rate or vibrations of frequencies. This means that the higher your level of consciousness towards your higher self or spirit is, because you do have a spirit, the greater the influence or direction over the denser degree or frequencies of consciousness. This is also included in your mental thoughts and your physical realm around you. You therefore determine the energy inside of your immediate space, and that then so also your home environment where you are. The higher you allow yourself to progress in terms of your consciousness within, the greater your ability to manifest what you seek to achieve or desire. The second law. The law of correspondence is immutable. The law of correspondence or correlation. As above, so below. What is below is also above. As within, so without. As without, so within. Always remember that. It relates to most of everything. This means that there is harmony, agreement, and correspondence between your physical environment with your mental environment, and so also your spiritual environment. Simpler, there is no division or separation really between what is in you and what is around you, only you. The only difference is the rate of the frequency or vibration. The same pattern frequency is expressed on all planes of existence, from the smallest electron to the largest star, from the visible physical plane matter to the non-visible spiritual plane. And so therefore, working with the law of correspondence, knowledge of the practicality used in the law of correspondence allows you to logically understand the nature of that which is beyond your understanding, as you believe, by becoming aware and studying, which helps you to overcome that belief, the nature of all things, that it operates within harmony. That you do understand, and then seeing the correlation or correspondence between your spirit and that which is the infinite creative force, or great spirit, as I call it. James Allen was a British philosophical writer, and he wrote, "As a man thinketh," in 1864, where he said, "Circumstances do not make a man, they reveal him. The currents of the ocean or sea do not ever alter the beach ball. It is how you move through it that alters your own pathway." This means that your outer world circumstances reveal to you your inner world if you know how to look for it. And so you are giving the chance to change your reactions and responses to every iota and inch of circumstances that happen to you. This is true creative power. That's what it means. Therefore, your response determines the way you perceive circumstances. You have to make a choice to change what you think, which includes how you feel, what you assume, and what you think you perceive, what you believe in, and so on. You have to get rid of the things outside of you in your thoughts. Meaning, I'm not saying you must become a Buddha, a Buddhist, or a Buddha inside of a cave, unless you really wish to do that. I'm saying, realistically thinking, everything that is around you must have very little impact on you. You must work to get to that point. Knowing thyself is loving thyself. Law number 3. The law of vibration or frequency is immutable. Much was spoken about the vibration, but I'll bring it into a more contextual form to think on. The law of vibrations or frequency suggests that nothing rests and everything is moving. Nothing is ever static. The only difference between all manifestations and materializations of consciousness or mind, be it matter, thoughts, emotions, things, and circumstances, is their corresponding rate of vibration with itself. How you feel is what vibrates outwards into your immediate energy field. Remember that the material realm and everything else that is around the realm and within it oscillates or vibrates or radiates a frequency in patterns or waves and enters through your thoughts. Always remember that you're in control of that. The direction of power is determined by the level of the frequency of vibration. Higher level of vibration or frequency have more direction and power over lower rate or vibrations of frequency. This means that the higher your level of consciousness towards your higher self or spirit is, the greater influence or direction over the denser degree or frequency of consciousness you have. This also includes your mental, thoughts, and physical plane. The next law is the law of polarity. This means that everything has an equal and opposing pole or frequency in itself, but can become altered or influenced when the field of another element is brought in. Opposites are identical in nature, but different in degrees. Always remember that. The currents in the ocean, one hot and one cold, how you move through them can be beneficial for you or not. You are masculine and feminine, principled within your energy. That is not related to physical attributes to whether you are male or female. Working with either one aspect or the other can be beneficial for you or not. Working as a whole being gives you more weight, gives you more power, gives you more existence. And you, as the beach ball, will possibly become heavier and can have more function in the currents of the oceans. The heavier the ball, the more there is movement in the direction. The law of polarity is mutable or transient, and this works in tandem with people who wish to create boundaries for you to lock you into their cells or their energy fields, to use your energy to generate for them abundance, and or you either become threatened by that or you are able to break away from it completely, because you do get a form of parasitism in that form. The stripping away of magic from its fairy tales, it ceases to belong to the realm of the mystical and the unexplained, and it loses its fascination, its mystique, because it is bang in the middle of everything in everyday life. The beauty of the transformation is that everyday life no longer seems dull or ordinary. It transforms into a new reality in your own making once you are able to love yourself and understand that you are in control of your own energy field. More on that later. Thoughts and actions, masculine and feminine, these categories reflect in the dual mirror of the realm. They give rise to the opposites, so on either side of the dual mirror there are reasons, logic and soul from the heart, actions which are inner intentions, and passivity which are the outer intentions as well, and expressions. Thoughts and actions on the subject are always being reflected to you, from you to you, all the time. Opposite can be observed as stark contradictions. For example, two opposite emotions such as love and hate, happiness and sadness, and so forth. The frequency or vibration in which it is expressed defines the degree of the polarity. Once you observe the polarity from within your spirit, In other words, when you go into yourself by way of deep breathing and closing your eyes and really focusing on your thoughts, the breath of the inward is created within you first, before you exhale. This is the point of centeredness, to observe the two polarities as they are within yourself. Adopting the thought of all is energy alone. Scratch that, adopting. Narcissists are knockoff gemstones and are not stark in contrast to you on the surface. Underneath the surface, they are merely mirrors or shards of your imperfections or perfections. That means your belief systems. They mimic it for you. They feed from your focus on them, while those who fixate on them feed off their opulence of the projected energy. You could consider them as a type of black mirror, but that it shines. Narcissists are compensatory for an inferiority complex, compensates for constant failure, defeat, and or collapsing internal accomplishments that they feel they've failed. They shimmer only a facade or a projection beyond which is nothing more other than a magician's illusion that they present as within the residual energy or as a sublime field. Difference between self-worth and narcissism is that it seems to be a confusion between self-love and being proud of your own accomplishments, which is erroneously seen as narcissism. People who compare themselves to internalized expectations to perform or to performances or standards externally. While this is an ongoing struggle for comparisons, these determine the shards of mirror reflects in an elusive pseudo-perfectionism towards you. Let me explain to you a little deeper self-love so that you understand it. Self-love is not only based on physical appearance. You are not the sum of your physical. Self-love is to be able to take a breath in and to close your eyes and to observe your own thoughts and to allow it to be what it is while you bring a balanced form within your consciousness, within where you are, while you observe your own thoughts and thinking. Self-love does not mean to reach for the unattainable. If you seek to strive to become perfection, that will simply not ever come to you. Narcissists seek to become perfection itself, but the more they seek this, the more they need to feed from your energy and your experiences and dipping into your energy field so that they are able to achieve that. While this happens, they slowly erode more and more of their own soul essence until there is nothing left anymore. When you see them, you will know that they are only shiny husks of what they formerly used to be. Sometimes you may not even realize it as they parrot you and your own energies. These are the ones that I would call the copycats. They seek constant validation from others, their groupies or their cult members, while they feed on their adorations and adulations. They replace themselves with essences of you inside of them. Well, these are copies, of course. If you are not wise to this at first, what you become aware of is your own shine in which they have placed themselves into, making it very difficult for you to establish where you are and where they begin. These are beautiful con jobs of knockoff gemstones or copy artists. That is not self-love. Self-love is to strive and to be the best within rational reason and logic, wisdom, to know your own strengths and limitations. Your self-worth is stable, whereas the narcissists do not have self-worth, only the measured reflections of you within their own field of energy. Self-love allows you to know that your sense of self-worth is stable because it can be subjected to influences. Self-worth can be modified, but it doesn't alter the core identity. You are still immutable. You are who you are. You are true to your spirit, and you are untouchable. Know the self, and you know self-love. Psychopaths, on the other hand, know what self-worth is about, but it's circumstantial for them in many ways. Where the core identity has been stripped away, there is no core left. Whereas narcissists in totality reactive to the environment by attributing core qualities that they've picked up along the way. Therefore, their attributions are also errors of various people's beliefs. Gnostics are the same. Gnostics believe in the same function and are also narcissists. They believe in the external realm as evil. Thus, belief compensates for a sense of always being unloved, so that there is a justification for bad or being rejected or loathed or never true to the self. Therefore, the belief of a God is adequate and loving and all benevolent, that it counters the justification that an evil one must exist. Therefore, they exist in the understanding that they are not loved if they do not live and justify their own beliefs. Healthy self-worth can sometimes be situational due to circumstances where you are grounded in the self, in yourself, where you are able to interact with the self and learn how to establish balance, being kind to yourself, practicing self-care, which are internal aspects. Narcissists recreate the appearance of a core, but it is external, and most of it is based on improvisation and totally constructed through the material realm dynamics. Narcissists' convictions, beliefs, conducts, and choices are deterministic from material realm existence. They are close, like I said, copycats. Self-esteem is healthy, confidence is there, minimalistically, you are grounded, you are determined by yourself and your environment within reason. Internal feedback is self-rectifying, which means if you say something, you will know if you've said it out of ego or not. So therefore you are able to self-rectify yourself. Self-regulatory comes from the alignment of love and the spirit. Inner voice is always recognized as the higher self or the voice of your spirit, able to communicate with you. This is healthy. Narcissists construct and on instant via external sources self-worth in constructed form based on what they've taken up and what they've learned from their environment. They are also they are operating in a form of being able to self-correct. If they find something that is of a different nature to them, they will adopt that too. Narcissists, when observing, can objectify their focus, and that focus becomes a distortion of an overinflation or grandiosity. It happens when they are close to the point of being defeated. The more negative distortions or of light happens, the more shame and guilt, the more there is work done to restore the grandiosity. So the more they are ashamed, the more they will build the grandiosity. Narratives, stories, and fictions are created out of thin air, cast themselves as altruistic or the victim, ideological always, which means they can easily lie to you and easily lie to themselves. The fifth law, the law of rhythm, is mutable. The law of rhythm states that all energy flows out and in, like I've explained with breath. All energy rises and falls or descends. Hot air travels up and cool air descends. Sounds go up and sounds go down. The heart and the brain function electric and then magnetic. Magnetism creates rhythm. Rhythm is mutable. Electricity works in tandem with magnetism to create rhythm. How you feel is how you react or respond to rhythm. The waves rise up and the waves come down. The energy field swings to the left and then swings to the right. Rhythm is the natural breath and heartbeat of the universal of the intelligence that is universally available within you. Scratch that. Rhythm is the natural breath and heartbeat of the intelligence within all things, seen and unseen. End. Working with the law of rhythm means you key synchronistically into your own frequency. The law of rhythm also allows for you to accommodate, once you have endured your mental understanding of who you are, that you utilize electricity and magneticity to become electromagnetic, which is in the heart. And the heart is not the physical pump station, but the frequency of love. You can also rise above the law of rhythm and choose not to be swayed by the movements of any rhythm or certain tides or currents in the ocean. This does not mean you defy this law. It merely means that you choose to be in the observation, to flow along the current without losing your own balance, or flowing in a balanced space while you transition from one current to the next, as if you're surfing. And this gives you the direction of your destination. Rhythm always seeks balance. So if the rhythm is too strong and it is overwhelming, your response to the swing of high or low is key here. How do you respond versus how you react to the rhythm must be done from a seat of balance always. This takes us to the law 6. The law of cause and effect is mutable. Cause and effect is mutable. Every cause has an effect. For every action there is a reaction. For every impulse there is a response. This does not define that innocents have chosen to be hurt or abused. There is a current that is causal and there is a current that is causal, and there is a current that is effect. Crossing them causes chaos. It depends on which side of the fence you sit. The sycophants have learned to influence the forces that create cause and effect for them, but they do not know how to create from anything. They only know how to manipulate and copy. These currents can alter the material realm, but only in a temporal moment. When there is consensus to it, of course. Consensus is the agreement out of fear or being subjected with the fear either way when the aliens come to land and everyone needs to know that the aliens have landed. If everyone gives consent to that belief, then so it becomes. What is important is that while you operate in your own internal sovereign state of existence, you still, while being powered up to your highest form of energy, can choose to flow along the current and bypass it internally in your mental space. So it can come and go, but you don't have to feed it. Or allow for the currents to take you with it. The material realm and its focus is based on frequencies and realm dynamics, always operates from a mental state within every individual. If you are able to tap in fully within the original creative force through love and respect and self-honor within balance, you immediately experience the ability to define your choice to define inner balance. You start to feel it. And this helps you to override the impact from within the outer realm dynamics around you. Your inner world is the cause, and the visible material realm is the effect around you to some degree. Do not allow your outer reality or world to determine the frequency of how you should respond to energy internally. Change is a sequence of changes that is a portion of the boundless form of energy and things that happen in the world. But if you give it a chance, you are able to understand the mechanics behind it. To master and to have control over your outer realm dynamics, that means your control over your home, for example, you must learn to master yourself and your internal reality first. When you understand that your internal reality is based on mental creation, that what you think is a projection of consciousness, you will understand how it alters the environment in your home space. Chance and luck does not exist. There is also no magic formula that can give you good luck or change things or give you a jackpot at the end. These are beliefs in an ignorance of the laws of cause and effect. Do not allow your outer reality material realm to control your inner world. Do not do this work if you wish to accomplish something in a material dynamic. Do not do this. Do not love yourself because you want something in the material realm, because that is just not going to work that easily. Your intention has to be loving yourself first before you even decide what you wish to accomplish. Therefore, do not allow your outer reality, the material realm, to control your inner world. Come into your inner world first and determine how your thoughts affect your reality. In other words, whatever is created in the spiritual plane is in time projected into the physical, because the former directs the latter. In line with the conscious creation process, your outer world, which is the effect, must come to match your inner world, which is the cause, by law. To be in balance with these four elements, understand your energy field. Reason and action relate to the physical world. Soul and passivity relates to the metaphysical world, which is in reality no less objective than its material counterpart. Materialists become idealistic because there is 100% focus on material realm and its obstacles, but it is unable to shape their own reality. The reality is unfamiliar to you. If you don't know how to perceive what a reality is, then you don't know what your reality is. The understanding of metaphysics is a manual for understanding how any reality is built. This is what is the foundation for the philosophy on this channel. You get false realities which are based on perceptions, ideologies, but if you don't have internal autonomy, you will only be a small cog in the wheel of someone else's energy and power over the reality that you exist within. Chaos is a reality for someone who is chaotic. Peace is a reality of someone who is at peace. I hope that makes sense. Remaining neutral to the field, but not objectifying, not ignoring, just having zero reflection on it, feeling nothing to it may help. But again, that is a reaction to something that is a causal effect on you. You can't ignore it and fake it until you make it either. You cannot con this philosophy. The energy flourishes on ideas, reflective, godlike, controlling. Your energy flourishes on ideas. Your energy field requires you to become active in creating ideas for yourself. Others see the ideas that are reflective, and they seek to control and sway that energy so it goes towards them. This is based on the reflective power of an influence or an egregore. If you fight it, you become a vibrational match to it. If you react to it, you become a vibrational match to the swing of that field. Luminiferous ether penetrating into the system overlay by way of the torus black obsidian diamond fabric, and in this also retracting into the system overlay, which is cracked, which then is what has caused the energy field. For the black magicians, the energy fields that they can harvest from, which they call the sublime good, which is kind of sarcastic, I think, for us, is that they seek energy, and that if they can manipulate energy fields, they are able to control your field. They are worshipping the field to be a reflective god for them. So it does not have many names, but it does have many people to give it life. So the idea of people saying that the realm is based on consciousness, or saying that God is a reflection of you in many vessels of it, is actually utter nonsense as well. Ignore that please. The thing does not like to be stopped, but if I change the script internally, my response to the thing will definitely bring that thing's movement to a halt. Once the energy field is stopped or halted by changing the energy thoughts in my mind, a sense of humor, or using imagination to do something sporadically positive for yourself or happy, that actually breaks the frequency of that thing on you. The energy field is like a vampire or a hurricane when it's being hacked. It can use your own energy to exploit your habits and how you react to attacks or difficulties. If you set yourself the goal of remembering until it becomes a habit, you will gradually be able to become immune to any of and all energy fields. This is why you need to bring self-awareness in. Remember, residual energy fields, that field around you, is your internal energy field. It is also a residual energy field. Remember that if a person has passed away, that they leave a pocket of energy behind, which is called the residual energy field. And these residual energy fields all become part and lump together into pockets of energy. Magicians, on the other hand, call these energy fields Sublime Field, or it. It is not personal, it is not impersonal either. The original creative force is not present in these fields either. Keep that in mind. This is pure psychokinetic energy in energetic fields or frequencies. Residual energy gathered from around buildings or people or event situations become a field of energy that comes from psychokinetic energy, as I've said, which black magicians can manipulate to cause harm. Black magicians or psychophants can alter or intercept the field and influences enough people to do things so that they are able to create damage. However, because of the darkening, this is actually coming to an end. This is why there is stark terror. You need to revoke your own triggers, personal reactions, interferences, and things that are inside of your consciousness, in your thoughts and in your past, because the residual field around you is like a frequency that would draw out your wounds, and those who are then on the outside are able to track your energy field as if they are vampires, and they keep drawing into your frequency. That is how that happens. So you need to make sure that you are able to understand what residual energy is and how you must protect yourself. Psychophants or black magicians, by being stripped from conscious morals, living in a chaos life. Let me start again. Psychophants or black magicians, being stripped from conscious morals, living in a chaos life, live for the benefit of what your reactions to the field does to you. So your reactions to their fields, they thrive on your misery, cry when you do well. This is how they operate. Because if you do well, you tip over their fields. So when you radiate through thought energy at a different frequency to the residual energy field's resonance frequency, you become the dissonance within the realm. You upset the minions, and lots of tears. The dissonance slows the current movements, then impacts your life personally through your personal energy. The results being that the field shrinks and dissolves out of your reality. You are basically left in peace. That's how it works. Loving yourself enough and with more excitement and happiness destroys the field, the hold of the field that they try to have over you. The black magician then, who thrives on a chaotic energy field, will send someone then to try and approach you, to try to disrupt your presence, your peace, your calm. Pray for something on their end so that you become disrupted. And then your movements will be energizing their field again and make their energy fields become alive again. The energy field tries to draw you in. Magicians work hard to mess with you so that you get sucked back into the field, I advise to only drop one little drop of blood so as to give it something, and then to go back to your stoic, balanced self. That is, yeah. On creating boundaries. Destructive energy fields, such as what comes from chaos, magicians, always seek to feed on your energy. Remember that. To do this is, in order for them to suck on your energy field or to siphon from your energy, they have to try to match your frequency. They have to try to mimic you so that it can tune into your vibration or your thought energy to the frequency of the problem and keep it there. This only happens now and then. And when you believe that self-love is too difficult a task to do, then you do unfortunately also get triggered by them interfering with your frequency field. So self-belief is, if it's not strong, can be triggered. So if you constantly hammer on someone's wounds and self-beliefs by using fear, worries, or confusion, you don't go anywhere, and that person won't go anywhere either. The process to love the self becomes an insurmountable task. You'll never be able to do it. All this effort in getting you scared is just another string to harness you. Remember that. The sycophant's view on the energy field as the sublime is narrow-minded focus. Constantly, therefore, you could say that they are blind to seeing outside of them. They are obsessed. They are obsessed. They believe that there is nothing that exists other than what there is in front of them. The secret to living without being affected by their laser focus on you is to clear this thought. Even though it is an actual thing that they do, wipe it out. Break the thought pattern, and this is how you remove yourself out of their thought field. Denying them doesn't work either. Simply, they do not exist within your field of reality, but you have to decide that to begin with. You have to then already ascertain and control your original thoughts from the beginning. Remember, the first thought must be the most important thought for the day. Mantras are also excellent to reject their fields of projection onto you, but that may also be symptomatic. I would advise to start from the beginning where you focus on your first thought. All problems are degrees that you encounter and are just parts of your life path. Obstacles are there to be resolved. It seeks to occupy your inner space. Therefore, it requires from you zero energy to feed the problem. However, your subconscious is directly linked to the information field where the solution to any problem or potential answer already exists within. So you would need to relax yourself, release any fears or anxiety that you may have during the experience of the issue, and completely learn to let go of the focus to try and resolve the information, the answer. Because the more you try, the harder you try, the less you get the answer. So you need to step back and allow yourself to focus into your field, your internal thought field, to get the answers from there. So if you continue to practice this, you should be able to understand what I'm saying and then realize that it actually happens, it actually works. So your freedom lies in being free from the energy fields of others, and also to be able to be in control of your own energy field, and for you to learn to create your own energy field that is creative for you. It is essential to recognize the goals that you have been conditioned to believe for others' thought fields, which may not always be your goals. So you would need to learn to break away from the belief systems as well, as we've spoken up before. Staying within the awareness of the natural laws should give you an indication of how to operate your thought field as well. What about the waves of fortunes, perhaps? And an energy field, as I've said, is also it is impersonal, but it does require constant feeding. It cannot create itself unless you are the one that motivates a certain frequency into it. The energetic field is not constructive, but It is a basic field of energy that you are able, it is potential. So you are able to activate it in the way that you need to focus on within yourself. So certain energy fields require energy supplies from some people, as you know, in order for it to vibrate and move in a certain way. If you feed it, let's say, whatever they wish for you to feed it, then it keeps constantly being in change. So if you give constant focus to eating insects for breakfast, then it will become a way of life for you and not for me. An energy field is only constructive in relationships and how you are in relationship to yourself. If you hate yourself, then you are hated. If you think nothing of yourself, then you become invisible. If you love yourself, then things become completely different. Things become interesting. On a metaphysical perspective, remember I said that the black magicians can control to some degree how the energy field of the populace functions by influencing it with their own fields of misery, of course. There are quite a variety of energy fields ready for harvesting as well. But all energy fields require some type of source to make it operate, like like a tornado needs a wind to become a tornado. So if the members of a soccer team, for example, grow bored with soccer, if the entire team decides to leave, then there is no soccer team, and that team will then not exist anymore. And in the same principle, however, there is nothing compared to the membership of a criminal gang, for example. The same thing happens if there is a do or die in the frequency that is what keeps that energy field in high powered motion as well. Makes it highly vampiristic. Because the do or die aspect is the motivation for their energy field to require sustenance because they could have an imminent passing over at any time. So the energy field, so in other words, it becomes vampiristic, as I said. The energy field within the wave of happiness and good fortunes, for example, or happiness and love, are favorable to you personally. This is just because it is. The wave of good fortune, when filled with happiness and love and self-love, does not take from your energy but adds to your energy. Remember, the energy field is not personal, but it is a field of energy with pure potential then. So if you love yourself enough, you alter the energy of the field, in which it is in turn becomes your field of creative existence, and that is your field that moves you to where you need to go. The last law, the law of gender, masculine and feminine, is mutable. Everything has a masculine and feminine aspect, plus and minus, ones and zeros. Masculine and feminine principles are found in all things in this reality. Electrons and magnetic poles, electric and magnetic. Masculine principles is directive and creative, and feminine principles is receptive and creational. The direction for masculine principles in the mind is your conscious mind, your will, and your logic. The corresponding feminine frequency is creative principle and is subconscious mind, your desires and your emotions, respectively. Both genders, masculine and feminine principles, are equal and powerful in their uniqueness and requires unity and balance to work together. The law of gender does not represent physical masculine or feminine attributes, but metaphysical in nature. It is important to allow your consciousness and subconscious mind thoughts, will, and desires to work together or unite in harmony with your logic and emotions towards the same outcome. In other words, self-love. That is the bridge between two parts. In other words, go into the inner world and love yourself. The subconscious mind as well as the conscious mind are in equality and balance. That is what unity and balance means. Internally, not externally, and not weaponized, and not labeled, of course. Masculine energy is electrical and feminine energy is magnetical. Both are qualities that are within, represented by the brain as the left and the right and hemispheric. Outward expressions of feminine principles are love patience, intuition, and gentleness, and of masculine principles are energy, self reliance, logic, and intellect. Realize that every human being has these attributes within them and choose to express them at either way, shape, or form in time. When you are at peace within yourself, when you can love yourself without doing so at the cost of another, the law of gender comes into harmony and you are then practicing self love. When you can enter internally into the state of balance and look at yourself and acknowledge what you've achieved and acknowledge that you are who you are and that you matter and that you actually take up space and that you do exist because you have a spirit, then you are in alignment and unity also with the Great Spirit. The law of attraction is, as I've said, not mentioned ever and ever will be because it is a man made magical spell for the owners of that product. I will leave that with you. I hope this has helped you, and please let me know how this has helped you as well. Look after yourself.